Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 10500 Southwest Barber Street here in Wilsonville. We are located at the front of the house. I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front door of the home. We are just to the left of the front door. You've got a 3-inch ABS cleanout. There's another one, the reason I'm kind of describing this, on the other side of the staircase here, you have a 4-inch ABS cleanout. The larger of the two, or the one to the right of the steps there, is going to be for your storm system. The smaller one here is your sewer. We're checking the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We are zeroed out and off we go. A little bit of grease in the line there. We'll see how this all looks as we come back out, but that kind of tan brownish stuff you see gack to the flow line there is cooking oil, grease buildup, fats in general. Transitioning here to 4-inch 3034 PVC pipe. And as it sits right, this is not an outrageous or nightmarish level of grease buildup. I always like to take advantage of these and kind of just for educational purposes show people what it looks like when you dump your frying pans down the line. And if you do that if you do a lot of fat frying and you're dumping, reasonable quantity down the line is where it really gets you. I have seen people develop inch-thick grease buildup in less than a year in a brand new construction home. So anyway, it's a very good maintenance item. In fact, it's about the only thing you can actually do to maintain functionality with your sewer line, or at least improve it. Otherwise, your line's buried underground where it is at the will of Mother Nature. But it ends up, especially when you get a thick layer of it that's continuous throughout the line, it acts like glue. Causes debris when it does slow down or stops up to get stuck to the pipe. It's especially problematic when you have kids in the house that are wadding up their toilet paper, flushing lots of balls of toilet paper down the pipe. Scenarios where you already have something that's very close to causing a blockage. It exacerbates those things and turns them into scenarios where they can indeed cause one. And they create for more stubborn blockages. They're a lot less likely to break loose on their own naturally, which happens a lot with balled up toilet paper blockages. I've done almost 25,000 sewer scopes at this point in my 13 years doing this, and it's amazing the amount of lines out there where I can see evidence that a blockage occurred, and you can tell that the thing broke loose after a few feet of pipe filled up behind it. That's what you want to have happen. You take that same blockage in a greased up sewer line, and it can now withstand significantly more head pressure. And that same one that might break loose after 5 feet of pipe fill up behind it can now withstand 30 feet. So it's more likely stuff like that will result in a full-on sewer event. So best to just not put it down the sink in general. Anyway, we've reached the main here at about 78 feet. We're going to go locate that really quick here while the pipe drains off. Thus far, the line itself looks fantastic so far. I think you have a little tiny bit of standing water towards the very end, but it's very minor. I may recommend some cleaning. This one's kind of just, it's right on the fence where I consider cleaning, but it's not, jetting this line is not going to make a massive, meaningful difference. The only difference it would really make is under a scenario where a blockage does already happen, it's going to make it stick better, like I was just talking about a moment ago. This is not the kind of stuff that would go causing a blockage on its own. All right, located the camera head successfully. Line terminates out on Southwest Barber Street. The line ends up terminating at the main. It goes under the little grass island. The main lateral in this case is underneath the bike lane on the opposite side of the street. I think it's way out there. Glad the line looks as good as it does. This is a line that's on under a lot of concrete. We still have just a little bit of water trickling off here. Some of that maybe from the little belly we're going through. The tiny belly there dissipates off right around 72 feet. This thing is teeny tiny. You can hardly even call it a belly. Yes, it's somewhere between approximately about 69 to 72 feet. You've got something like a 1/16 of an inch of water there. That is light years and galaxies away from needing repairs. A belly like that has essentially zero bearing on functionality. You have just as much buildup in that spot as you do anywhere else in the sewer line. And for reference, I don't even consider repairs, especially on plastic sewer lines, until you start getting into substantial amounts of standing water. Inch or more for 5 feet with no water running at all is where I just start to consider repairs on bellies. And by and large these days, I mostly recommend a belly like that get repaired when it's an old, rough, nasty, gnarly cast iron or concrete, and when it's relatively close into the home. That's where you get a coupling effect of water slowing things down and rough pipe walls that snag that debris as it moves slowly through the line. Very, very different animal in smooth plastic pipe. So you've got enough grease continuously throughout the line. I'm going to recommend cleaning on it. Like I was saying before, if it didn't get cleaned, this is not kind of stuff here that's going to go just causing blockages. It doesn't work that way, not at this level. But it can help contribute to further grease buildup if more of it keeps going down the line. But you can mitigate that almost entirely. It's just a habit you have to build in. The rule of thumb I tell most people to live by is if you've got enough oil or grease on your pans and the pans are hot, if you were to turn that pan sideways and there's enough on it that it runs off the pan in beads or worse, flows off of it, it's at that point you want to do something about it. Either pour it into a jar while it's still liquid, or let it cool down, wipe it out with a paper towel, or scrape it off into a garbage can. A thin little coating of PAM spray is no big deal. Hot water and soap handles that just fine. When you know some amount of it's getting down the line, though, you always use your hot water and soap. But one little tip is keep your hot water running for about 30 seconds after your last dish. Helps to make sure anything that did get down line stays melted till it gets to the main. If you notice, there's a little Y connection at the base of this hard vertical drop here, and I'm stoked their installers didn't screw this up. These hard vertical drops like this are the absolute easiest #1 spot to get a belly when someone does a nosedive like this, rather than do a gentle gradation the entire way out. But that little Y connection right here at the base of that, it's kind of hard to see right now because of a little bit of the grease. It's called a test Y connection. It's not a party line or anything like that. That's where they put the test bladder in when the line is first installed, to pressure test it, to make sure that everything's sealed up. And then it's capped off and never seen again. Anyway, all the pipe from the clean out access to the main lateral connection is in good condition. Has good flow. Even with the grease buildup, I would still call this good flow. But I do recommend cleaning the line out. The grease does go back into the interior of the home. So I think it would be a worthwhile thing to do, but not the kind of thing that you should go running from the house because you couldn't get it clean or something like that. This is something that costs hundreds of dollars, not thousands. If you do get it cleaned, I would recommend rescoping, especially if it's part of the transaction. You want to get a rescope just to show that the work was indeed done. Anyhow, very nice looking sewer line from a structural standpoint. Even with that little belly in there, I would still basically consider this a perfectly graded sewer line. That kind of standing water just does absolutely nothing, especially where it's at 70 feet from the house. You're blocking up and backing up out of a line, out of a belly that tiny. You are putting some crazy stuff down your sewer line. Anyway, all the pipes in great shape, everything's intact, all the joints are tight. Sewer line is functioning properly at this time. You'll have improved flow and functionality. It mostly helped to mitigate further buildup from occurring, especially as it relates to improper items, which I include in the category of flushable wipes. I would not recommend putting them down your line. It helps to mitigate that stuff from getting hung up in the pipe.